Humans in this world are cursed to walk on the water's surface. They cannot go below it, they cannot swim. They live on the ocean but are forever locked out of it. And once in a generation, they have to cross it. This is Hedi. She just lost her parents, and somehow that's not even the hardest part of her situation. Through a series of extremely unfortunate events, she is personally responsible for leading an entire floating village across the ocean. She has a kite, a baby fish, and a grandmother who's not willing to take no for an answer. Today, we're going to herd fish and talk about a demo made by a tiny indie studio that has no right being this good looking and sounding this great. The game drops you straight into the starting village. Wooden platforms and docks built over the water, lanterns, colourful tents, little blue fish creatures just wandering around. It immediately smacks you in the face and shows you exactly what you're in for. And then the story kicks in. You play as Hedi, and the first thing she says, the very first line of the entire game is, "I don't know if I can." Yep, great start, Hedi. We're starting off strong. Her grandmother CDF doesn't really care about that though. Her response? You must. Because it turns out the world runs on a once-in-a-generation fish migration, guided by a special creature called the guidefish. Quick side note while editing this, I just noticed that the text scrolling kind of sounds like Mr. Krabs walking across the screen, and I don't know, it made me laugh quite a bit, so hopefully you guys enjoy it too. Hedi's parents were the guides. Now that they're gone, it's up to her to take on the mantle to help the village. Did I mention that she is also just a kid? Crazy. There's one more thing the grandmother drops before sending this child off alone. Sue takes, but she also gives. You cannot fight her will. Now, Sue being a goddess or spirit of the water, the game's mythology starts layering in immediately, and it's pretty compelling stuff, to be honest. So, no guidefish, dead parents, angry grandmother, mythology, goddess. Let's go. The main way you get around in the game is a kite, and in my opinion, it's one of the best things in the game mechanically. It's faster than walking, it surfs the waves, it catches the wind, and it lets you glide through the air. It's simultaneously a surfboard, a sail, and a parachute all at once. Movement in games like this can feel like a chore. This feels like a reward. Every time I pulled out the kite, I just wanted to keep going and see what was around the next corner. The first area you move through is the wetlands. Tall reeds, cattails, turquoise water channels, lily pads everywhere. Everything is waterlogged. Everything floats or swims. The color palette is extraordinary. Saturated greens and teals that feel almost painterly. And then later, the environment completely shifts. The wetlands give way to ancient stone ruins rising out of the water. Crumbling sandstone archways, broken bridges, columns half submerged in teal. Sun rays filtering through from above. It's a completely different visual mood and it works beautifully. For a demo, the variety here is genuinely impressive. Combat is real-time and top-down. The enemies are piranhas or sawfish-like monsters that are fast and erratic. They dissolve and swarm, and they pop up exactly when you don't expect them to. And when they do, you've got a melee weapon and a boomerang to deal with them. The boomerang especially feels fantastic. Piranha-like creatures launching out of the water. You throw the boomerang at them and they fall back in, splashing down. The whole thing has a rhythm to it, and it feels polished way beyond what you'd expect from a studio this small. Here's the thing about this game though. Underneath all of it, the kite, the combat, the gorgeous environments, this is actually a game about grief. Hedi isn't just completing a migration. She's a kid who just lost her parents, suddenly carrying the weight of an entire community that's counting on her. Her companion through all of this is a juvenile guidefish that just follows her around, doesn't explain anything, just stays. And in the middle of the reed fields and ruins and all of the fish, that actually lands really well. And after finishing the demo, I immediately looked up the studio behind this game because games don't usually come out of nowhere with this much confidence behind them. The team is BigMood, a tiny 4-person indie studio from Sweden. And The Edge of Water isn't actually their first project. Before this, they made a similar game called By the Blue, a narrative platformer set on a brutal industrial mining asteroid. Completely different setting, completely different genre. Instead of colourful oceans and fish migrations, it's rusted machinery, propaganda, dangerous factories, and workers trapped in a system that's slowly crushing them. You play as Ada, an electrician trying to survive under this oppressive mining collective after encountering something mysterious from outer space. But the more I looked at both games, the more you can actually see what BigMood cares about as a studio. Both games are heavily story-driven. Both are built around young protagonists carrying responsibilities way bigger than themselves. Both have this really strong focus on atmosphere and environmental storytelling. And both worlds feel lived in before you can even fully understand them. Even the themes overlap. By the Blue is about labor, control, and people trapped inside of a dying system. The Edge of Water shifts that into grief, mythology, and community survival. But both games are ultimately about people trying to keep going in worlds that feel larger and harsher than they are. And honestly, that's impressive because most indie studios spend years trying to figure out what their identity is. BigMood already feels like they have one. Not because the games are identical, they're not. But because both of them feel obsessed with mood, place, and emotional weight first. The mechanics exist to support the feeling that they're trying to create. And if this is what a 4-person studio can pull off this early on, yeah, they're officially on my radar. What they've built here is one of those rare games where every single element, the movement, the world, the story, the combat, the sound design, the visuals, all pull in the same direction. It knows exactly what it wants to be and it commits to it completely. The demo is free, it takes about half an hour to complete, and it's in the description. It's one of the most confident pieces of design I've ever played from an indie studio this early on in development. Go play it, wishlist it, and then come back here and tell me what you think about it. If I was wrong, tell me. I don't think you will though.